Diesel with the People News. Alright, this is still a learning video, and I was kind of making everything a little bit separated so you can study piece by piece by piece of what the man says. And, well, this is the reason why I'm recording it for piece by piece, so I can study sections at a time. Because I want to stay in the class of age majority and not an adult. I do not want to bank on an attorney whatsoever. Alrighty? And neither should y'all. So, I'm not an attorney. Don't claim to be an attorney. I never look just straight forward. I always look around me. So that way I can protect myself and my family by any means necessary. Alright, y'all? So, let's press forward.
Yeah, I guess that would be the final way they would prevent it. Because, I mean, if they didn't have that system set up, and if it didn't work, then the model that I'm thinking about would be the only natural one that people would start to fall under. They would start forming up crews, and, they would start going that route.
That's what the militias were put in play for. That's why they put the Second Amendment there. It's not there for duck hunting and target practice. The Founding Fathers put it there so you could go after corrupt government officials that are violating the people's rights and abusing their privilege to steal property from people.
Okay, what happens if most damage was done in another state? It's all the way over in South Carolina. I'm way on the West Coast. I still can go to federal court and sue them from there.
Well, yeah, I think so. You might need to have, I don't know, I can't really say I have any experience with that state kind of thing, but I do understand from reading a lot of the federal stuff that if it is a case between me or Florida, someone in Nevada, I would use the federal courts most likely to address that situation because of the different states, But you read up on it. Don't believe, and here's another thing. Don't believe a word I say. Don't believe nothing you can't prove yourself in your own research. If you do it that way, you will be fine.
Well, no, you get shell shocked. What happens is once you get smacked so many times and beat up, and then forced drug injections and 4 points and just maniac people all over.
I'm with you, man. And that's how Al Capone handled it. If you didn't want to pay Al Capone's extortion fees, the Molotov cartel went through your store at 3 a.m. in the morning. So, like I said, we're dealing with organized crime. It's not your government. It's organized crime. Our goal is to put it back to our government that serves the people. And right now, this is the best thing we have going for us, and it's working right now. And if it fails to work, then the Second Amendment is there to help us put it back into play.
So you say skip state court, just go right to federal, like a civil law?
Well, I do it under, civil rights. And the only way, and the criteria for that is you have to prove you have a constitutional right and that they have violated it. And that ain't hard to do if you understand your rights, you know what I mean? But as I said earlier, most people don't know what their rights are. Have you read?
We lost our going.
Might have cut out there. Yeah, there's a lot of people, I'm afraid, that are like that caller out there. The best advice I think I could give from my experience is forget everything you ever learned in school about the legal system and everything. You got to get a magnet across that hard drive and just defrag completely and start over.
There you go. You're right. Yeah, you're going to reformat that hard drive and load it with some good stuff. What is it? Garbage in, garbage out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we want to get rid of the garbage and make sure that you have the Constitution, the state statutes, the administrative codes, government codes, and if you can find American jurisprudence or your state jurisprudence and corpus secundum, my tongue tie that every time.
Corpus juris secundum.
Yeah. Yes, and come up with this stuff. I just got a girl I know here in Florida, some library she was at gave her American jurisprudence, all 130 volumes of it. Told her if you can get it out of here, it's yours, because they got all new ones.
Wow.
I mean, that'd be cool. Yeah, to have that in your house would be awesome.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm just saying, this is the key. We have to start understanding the research and get the knowledge that we don't have. I think even the Bible says, my people perish due to lack of knowledge. Well, that's what's happening here. We're all perishing and losing. See, these people can't take your rights from you. All they can do is BS you and force you into not exerting your rights. And that's what they're doing. And that tends to be sedition, insurrection, fights equals treason. You know what I mean? And there's laws. That's a hanging crime. That's a hanging crime. So let's go after these people for this stuff and hang them. And use the court systems to do it. Get the convictions, get everything you need in a lawful court, which you can they're there. They're there. They're working. They still work. We get case law all the time. Look what they're doing to the Obamacare. Even the Supreme Court saying this is socialist crap medicine and it's unconstitutional. We can't do that here.
Right.
I mean, just only 3 or 4 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court held up the Second Amendment. I mean, look at what they do when you actually put the law in front of them and someone does it right. They'll do the right thing. They usually do.
Thank goodness about that Supreme Court on that Obamacare thing. At least that gives me some hope here. I just read that.
Yeah, but I mean, you're seeing it all the time. Though I mean, I read appellate court cases that come out all the time. The foreclosure stuff, they're making it very clear that here in Florida, that if the foreclosuree doesn't have the correct complaint, which would be the original link signed notes, able to produce all that documentation, then they can't even bring a foreclosure into the Florida court systems now. Well, I'm just making a point that there's people all over the place getting their homes free and clear now, and getting out of their mortgages because of that. Because these banks have sold all this stuff off, and I mean, if you got a loan through Barnett Bank 15, 20 years ago, Barnett Bank doesn't even exist. Who's got standing to sue for the mortgage? You can just go down the list, and it works the same way with everything else. If you can lay out the law, the charter, the ordinances that they're using against you with like a code enforcement issue, I beat them every time. Even in their own courts. I don't even have to go beyond. I never even had to appeal nothing. I had a friend of mine that got arrested on, I guess, about 2 years ago at the courthouse. He was in there raising hell with the clerks over how much he had to pay for copies and stuff, and they got kind of ticked off of him. They did a trespass warning on him. He goes back in there 2 months later. One of the clerks there recognized him, so they had him arrested. Well, I got the case dismissed in about 4 weeks by, hey, you got the constitutional right under Article 1, Section 23 of the state constitution to have access to the courts, which shall not be denied, delayed, and without all that stuff. So right away we had a constitutional issue that they're denying him access to the courts by trespassing him from the courthouse because he argues with the clerk. So they dismissed the case right away, and then we went and sued them in their own court, and they settled with us for like $120,000. And I used that Travazant versus City of Tampa for the false imprisonment for $60,000 an hour. Had a $500,000 claim, and they came and settled with us because they knew they weren't going to beat us. There was no way. And hey, when you're reading the trespass statutes, it says the only person that can do the trespass warning has to be the owner of the property. Well, who owned the courthouse? Fine. The clerk, well, hold on, right, everybody owns it, but the point is the clerk that signed it had no authority to sign it, so I had her for falsifying a document and creating a fictitious or a false report to police, and I hit her up with those statutes out of the Florida statutes here, and they didn't want to go nowhere. The judge, the county judge, dismissed it within 4 weeks. By the time we got the motion hearing, I filed the motion, got all that done. We had a hearing on it. The judge just looked at it, and he's reading off the address, going, "Holy, that's here," you know, and he keeps reading on through, and he's like, I'm sorry, but we can't, we have to dismiss this. You can't do this. And I had a county judge say that to the prosecutor that was trying to prosecute it. I mean, I can come up with, I can sit there and talk all night on this stuff. I can come up with at least 20 examples of where I've done the exact same thing because these people don't know what they're doing. They're abusing the process, wanting to use it in their favor to protect them from the crimes they're doing against people. And,
well,
I'm just saying, if you plead it right, if you understand how to plead law, how to write pleadings, you'll beat the crap out of them. Louis Ewing's excellent. Dave Merlin, I've learned from these guys over the years how to do this, and that's who I learned it from. Randy Kelton, that's where I've learned how to do this stuff from.
Well, hold that thought on talking all night, and we'll have to, have to save it up for the IRS, because I definitely want to have you back, talk about that. So.
Yeah, we'll come back next time and hit up on how to write a Title 42 1983 suit on this stuff,
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's what people need to learn. That's another thing. No one's teaching people how to write this stuff. They just say, go file a criminal complaint. People go, what the hell is that,
Well, that's exactly what we're all hearing. I mean, I can even vouch from Mark, or whatever. I know he's digging into this, and I need to learn this because I have to do this in my case. So, yeah, come back next week.
How many times have I been on here railing about the basics of the pleading?
Right.
We need to know it.
Yeah, and here's the key. You can get your state's pre-trial practices manuals. They're like amateurs. Nothing but case law out of your state saying, well, you got to have this, you have to have the elements, or otherwise you don't have a complaint. So-and-so versus such and such, right out of your state. You put that in your pleading hand to the judge. What's he going to do? Override the state appellate courts and claim he can do whatever he wants? Good, let him do that. Now he's primed for a federal due process civil rights suit. I love that. And there's $1 million suit right there. And you're going to be tagging on the judge's bond. You're going to be tagging on the municipal corporations, their insurance policies, and their risk management people for having this idiot in there doing this stuff to harm you. I mean, this is really pretty simple when you think about it. This is the basic theory and concept behind it. They're very simple. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to go to school for 50 years to learn this stuff. You do. It's going to take you a while, though, but you don't have to.
Yeah, and it's the write-up and the setups. The write-ups and the setups. That's how I see this.
And they're real easy to set up, man. They're real easy to set up because the local courts, they're going to ignore everything you do because you ain't got a lawyer. They're going to assume you don't know what you're doing. You're not going to know what to do. I set them up from the very beginning. I don't care what the county or local circuit court does here. I hope they screw things up. I hope they deny motions they have no authority to deny, so I can go run down to the federal courthouse and file a civil rights violations, a due process violation suit on them. And they don't like that because they can't answer that. They can't claim, well, here's how we violated this court rule, and here's what gets us away from granting you your due process under Article 1, Section 9 of the state constitution and, of course, the Fifth Amendment, you know? So how are they going to claim that they have the right to bypass all that or ignore all that and just convict you for something you didn't even do, maybe, you know?
Right.
And that's kind of how things have been working here for me. Code enforcement, I stomp them right from the very beginning. Every time they come anywhere, anyone's property. If I hear about it, I say, here's public records request, asking where their authority comes from. Well, they never answer that. Well, under Florida statutes 119, it's a third-degree misdemeanor for them not to answer them. So right away, I start racking things up on them. Next thing you know, I got 37 causes of action, and, you know, we're using about 30-some criminal statutes against them.
Well, Steve, we're down to maybe just a couple more minutes here, and I can't tell you how happy I am to find people doing the stuff you're doing, and spreading this information and sharing it so freely. Maybe could you tell us where you started down this road? I guess. I mean, what woke you up?
The driving stuff kind of caught my attention there back in the early 90s. You know, the licensing thing. Why'd I have to screw with this and tags on your car and all that crap? Didn't make no sense to me. So I started reading the DOT code and realized none of that applied to me. And then things just kind of led up from there. I told you about the woman that I grew up with her kids and had to sell the house on the lake because she couldn't afford the property taxes. So that got me into going through the statutes and reading up on how this works and how they can do what they're doing. And I just one of those guys. And plus, I'm a technician out of the shuttle program. I worked for Rocketdyne for 20 years, launching space shuttles. I'm a musician, keyboardist, and classical art rock kind of thing. The old Emerson, Lake and Palmer Yes stuff. So I ate, slept, and drank that stuff and learned how to do all that and program synthesizers and things. And I raced dirt bikes when I was a kid. So I used to work on my own motorcycle frames and rebuild my own engines. And I just kind of developed a academic way of figuring out how to read, I guess. I learned how to read. I guess that's what I did, you know? Because most people can't read. I'm surprised how people just aren't very good readers. Yeah, I think that's the key. They teach you to read on this little elementary level, and that's it. But when you have to read up at a higher level of reading, like reading law and statutes, man, people get so confused and they just give up, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. You can't really stress enough, you know, reading with your children when they're young and you know, teach them to read. Yeah, you know, because they're capable of learning to read at a very high level at an early age. I found they're just not taught that.
Well, then you should do well. You should be able to do fine reading through the statutes and interpreting what you're reading. And look at the definitions. What if it's a person? Chances are you're not the person they're talking about in the statutes they're talking about. We could do an hour. We could do 5 hours on that. Actually, you should get Eddie Craig to do the persons thing. He's really good with the definition stuff.
Right.
Let him explain that. That'll help you out a lot when you are reading these statutes to understand what the definitions of the words mean. Like we talked about the real property, all that stuff they're talking about doesn't even apply to your property. You don't have real property by their definition.
Nope.
And you're not a person. You're not a person by 90% of the statutory definitions of person are not you. Only the criminal code's about the only place that I find where the definition of person is actually called a human being, at least. Personally, I'd like a better definition than that. You know, living, breathing, carbon-based man walking the soil. So I really know that they're talking about me. You know what I mean?
Natural person, yeah.
All right, well, here we go, folks. We're at the end of the show. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. We'll have Steve back here sometime ASAP. Thanks again, Steve.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Anywho, there you go. There's that. What do you know? This is Diesel We the People News. Never, never, never look just straight forward. Always look around you, for the outside forces may want to commit harm upon you. That could be any person, place, or thing. Alright? Diesel We the People News. Bye.